where I would rate it the first issue, I'd give it like a 9. It's really good.
Oh, I'd give it a 10. I think this is one of the best single issues of any Spider-Man comic or comic alone ever.
This book was amazing. I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of the series. This book was incredible. Like, this first issue was really good, and I'm just like, dude. Again, Hickman was an amazing writer. Wrote probably like the best and only Peter Parker Ben Parker relationship I've ever read. I love the dynamic together a lot. The fact that Jonah is now, again, he's still Jonah, but like
Jonah's like Uncle Jonah now.
Uncle Jonah now, and it's like it's really fun.
You serious?
The fact that like it's like, you know, Peter with a family, him married to MJ, 2 kids, and you know and realizing that there's something missing in his life. Which again, if people who read the Ultimate Universe one shot, they know what actually missing. How he's supposed to be Spider-Man way earlier, as he should be, but that was taken away from him because of the Maker. I thought it was really interesting, and then like the way he becomes Spider-Man. Like, how's that gonna work? Like, him becoming Spider-Man as like a 34-year-old.
Yeah,
you know, that was really interesting, and I was like,
it was the most compelling Peter Parker I've read in a couple of years, because it was the most relatable Peter's ever been, with the fact that he was going through his day, and it was like stuff that he normally does, but he was just like, something feels off, like something doesn't feel right, but I don't know what it is. And I have to go find out what it is, but it might require me to go through some like insane changes. And MJ and Ben specifically is like, you got to do it, kid. Like, you can't sit there on your ass the whole time. And MJ's like, listen, whatever you do, I'll support you because I love you as a wife. And Peter's like, I love you too, MJ. And I'm like, fuck yeah.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
Ultimate Spider-Man. Obviously, we have that envision in our heads when we think, because we grew up, our generation grew up reading Ultimate Spider-Man with Bendis, right?
Ultimate Spider-Man was my first comic I ever read. It was our first one.
Oh, really? Ultimate Spider-Man was my first Spider-Man comic I ever read. It wasn't my first comic, but
yeah. The first arc that I read was the I think it was one of the first Ultimate Doc Ock arcs. I picked it up. My mom got it for me. It was literally like one of the first books I read. I rented it from the library. It was one of the trades.
That's the thing too.
Yeah,
I was reading. That's how I got to know the Spider-Man, because I was getting it from my local library.
Yes, yeah. And that's why. So Ultimate Spider-Man specifically is like a very important place in my heart, because that's like what started reading comics. So the fact that this not only lived up to, but like almost surpassed a lot of Ultimate Spider-Man's run, was insane to me.
Because when you think of Ultimate Spider-Man, they could have easily just did the whole same thing, Peter Parker, teenager, whatever, but have these different tweaks like how Bendis did it, right? But no, it's still a Spider-Man book, but it's drastically different in terms of like, it's Peter Parker with a family, which we've seen before with like Renew Your Vows and all that stuff like that. Life Story and all that stuff like that. But like, it's Peter Parker, but you know, Ben is alive and is a character. Aunt May, unfortunately, is the one that is dead in this one. You know, Harry and Peter Parker aren't friends in this universe. You know, so like these very like drastic changes to this character make it a lot more interesting. But again, like, it's still a Spider-Man book, but you know, it's a different retelling of Spider-Man that we're used to.
Yeah, because it's so interesting to see that Peter is still the same person, but he just feels empty because it feels like there's a piece of him missing that he never knew that he needed. And it's so interesting to see that even in a universe where he didn't become Spider-Man, he still yearns to be Spider-Man. Like, he still yearns to be better and do good for the greater good. And it was just so perfect to me, because I was like, yes, because it also didn't feel like, I think an issue is that a lot of writers like to make Peter feel burdened by it. You know what I mean? Whereas like where like it's almost like if he can't stop doing it, or he will feel such crushing guilt that he would have to go back to doing it. Whereas instead, Hickman kind of takes the approach of like, no, that's just such a part of his being that he requires it. You know what I mean? Like if he can't stop doing it because that is him. That's who he is.
That's who he is.
And I'm like, that's such a much better interpretation than, well, he doesn't really want to do it, but he's forced to, and that guilt makes him want to do it. It's like, no, this fucking dude loves helping people. And if he doesn't, he's not able to help people, even in another universe, he feels like there's a piece of him missing, a part of his soul. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude.
Dude, it's so well written. It's so well written. And it's just like, man.
I like Tony Stark showing up being like, hey, dude, this was supposed to happen 20 years ago. Fuck. And then all those memes everyone was saying of like Tony now has to go to every character that wasn't created and create them. Like he shows up to Frank Castle's family and just starts gunning them down.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm. Wait. Everybody calm down.
I also love Jonah and Ben's relationship, like their friendship. They're It's so fun. Like it's such a fun thing. But I'm very looking forward to seeing the next issue. Now we're seeing like Peter now as Spider-Man, seeing how that's gonna work. I think is gonna be. I think this now we have this. That's what we've never really seen before, which is great. Seeing Peter learn how to be Spider-Man as a 35-year-old,
as someone who is not as limber and not as Spider-Man, which is gonna be funny.
Exactly.
How I listen. I'm doing a 3-way parlay. My first bet is that I definitely think there's gonna be a My Back reference at some point where he's training to be Spider-Man and he's gonna do a Toby like my back. And I'm like, yo, that's gonna happen.
A few moments later.
My back. Oh, my back.
Sensational.